Welcome, Bout Betters. Welcome, good morning to all. Welcome to Cafecito con Robertito. I am Robertito. I am your host for this morning. Welcome, Bout Betters. Grab some coffee. You'll feel better. Have some coffee. It's Cafecito con Robertito, where we are today going to discuss a couple of news topics, things that I found that were interested me, as well, of course, as the upcoming UFC 313, maybe even the 314 event. I doubt that we get that far, but welcome, Bout Betters. Welcome, my cigar lovers. If you are familiar with my channel from the cigars, we also do cigar reviews. I appreciate anybody that comes in. In the future, we will be having Cafecito con Robertito, and there will be a cigar review because we'll be able to do these from the outdoors and be able to provide you with a review or a sharing of an excellent smoke. It doesn't always have to be reviews. Sometimes we're just smoking, we're just enjoying the cigar. We're not out there trying to sell anything, sell ourselves. We're actually just enjoying ourselves. And that's the whole point of cigar smoking. That's the whole point of Cafecito con Robertito. It isn't really to become the most informed American or person out there in the world, but it is just to enjoy your morning. Relax, kick back, have some coffee, have some tea. You'll feel better. Have some water, whatever it is, your protein drink, your Starbucks, whatever it is to get you going in the morning. And we'd appreciate you here. So let me first pop out and make sure that we are recording. But welcome, Bout Betters. Welcome. I appreciate anybody that might come into this stream. Welcome. Let me get myself so you can see I'm actually put on a shirt this morning. I put on a shirt. Look at this. Put on a shirt. Got one of the dress ties. So I'm a little dressed up here for this media sort of focused show today, right? It's more of a media emphasis or just a couple stories I was interested in, and we'll jump into them here in a moment. Let's just confirm that, and as you see from the title, of course, so the first one's going to be Gene Hackman. And why I was interested in that is because it took them, and they actually did a very good job. Boys, I was all right, good. Interested in. Good. All right. Awesome. I was interested in the Gene Hackman death, really as how media approaches these deaths, right? Like usually, a lot of times they just jump out right away. I remember when Heath Ledger died, and you had some of these other folks when they die of like obvious drug causes or some kind of trauma that was easily and readily solved, they right away, just shoot it down your throats. I was impressed this time because it was like the first time I had seen it, and I was out of sort of the loop. I was more impressed how the media didn't go jump at things. Like there was speculation of a murder right away, but it didn't last very long. I think they shot it down rather quickly, and that we didn't hear of details on the incident or the death was actually good. Like as a fan, as a person, I don't always want to hear all these things. Like I get it; it's great for that's one thing of a media. It is their job to go out and grind and get to in the weeds, as we would say. We like to stay out of the weeds, and I'm saying we as in like most people. But that's not to say, that's why we have Karens and Darrens in our society, right? Karens want to get in the weeds. They want to get in the business. They want to get in there, even though they don't have to. They're not really meant to be there. But have some coffee. You'll feel better. Does a Karen and Darren, do they sit there with their morning coffee and let me look how and decide, who am I going to fuck with today? Whose life am I going to disrupt today? And I wonder about that sometimes. Like if they're thinking, like they're already thinking of a problem. Let me see something. But I see a problem, I solve it, right? I solve the problem, I solve the issue, right? Like there always is a solution to most of the common problems that we have in life. Yes, sometimes we may get to them a little late. Sometimes we may ignore them. But if we're willing to accept accountability and look towards some solution, in most anything we can find that. And I think that that was the case with the Gene Hackman thing. I think that people, especially in the media, as well as even investigators, the police, and fans want to jump to the straightest line. We want to get to the quickest possible solution that might provide fruit, that might like sound appropriate. Like, okay, if it walks like a duck, quacks like a duck, it's a duck, right? So if you see these things in a death, then it's these things. And it's great to romanticize what what happens in these instances, but the reality, thankfully sometimes is a lot more boring, right? And we learned here, one second, let me get you a window, let me get to where I need to be. We learned in this instance that the uh, cause of death and the whole thing was a little more mundane, right? It was more, yeah, there we go. Let me move myself over here, and we'll even increase our window of, yeah. So we learned that Gene Hackman died of a heart disease days after his wife succumbed to the hantavirus pulmonary syndrome. And let me get, when I was or asking my partner, was I thought that the hantavirus, let's see, oh, there's ChatGPT. Yeah, let's see, we put in chat. I thought that the hantavirus was usually contracted from mice that eat or were exposed to um, insects that were infected with it through deers, right? Through deer. The to, all right, so let's see how people contract that hantavirus. And so his wife was determined to die of the hantavirus, right? And Gene Hackman, because he had you know pulmonary or heart disease with I believe they said that it was, and we'll see here, it was some form of hypertensive cardiovascular um, death, right? So it was a heart disease. But here, what they say for hantavirus, here, let me put myself maybe in a better, yeah, boom, boom, boom. Yeah, all right, we'll put myself there. Yeah, we'll put myself there. And we can move that up. Cool. Always a few technical things here, people. Where is that window? Oh, that's the higher antivirus transmission. All right, so yeah, so there we go. Whoa, whoa. Yeah, I want to put it there. All right, so hantavirus, which is what his wife died, right? So he was obviously a sick man, being cared by his wife, which I don't understand. Here's the element of the death that I don't understand is like you're wealthy, you are a famous movie star, and you only have one caregiver. And I just don't understand that, especially when you have, uh, resources, right? Like you have resources, you have the ability to, um, you have the ability to get assistance, right? You have ability to hire people. And I guess what it is, and I understand how tough it is from a firsthand perspective, because it's hard to hand a stranger or even somebody that's a secondary or tertiary part of the family, like your loved one, right? You're the person that you care for the most in life. It's hard to just say, okay, here, you're going to take care of that person now. It's not that easy, right? Like it isn't, it's tough emotionally, and then it just sometimes it doesn't work, I've known from firsthand where you might be the primary caregiver and what you're doing, because I think Gene Hackman, from what they say here, and I'll read this to you here, right? How does that look? Yeah, yeah, I'll read. I don't know if you could read or how much you can get out of that, but yeah, it looks like there's most of it that you can get. Let me, oh, let me get the, yeah, there we go. And let me move my, actually my symbol's fine. My watermarks are fine. So I know firsthand how difficult it is, because he was, as I say here, the summary, or if you look up here, Hackman was in the advanced stages of Alzheimer's. Actor may have been unaware of his wife's death, and his wife, Betsy Arakawa, died a week before he did. And that's what they're guessing. And of course, there's like forensic evidence that could test this, but even Alzheimer's, and that's the other thing that I'm confused. Two things. Why isn't there a a care provider? Or if there isn't a care provider, why isn't there somebody having the wealth that these people have? Why isn't there at least a secondary, like a check-in, right? There are going to be instances. My mother right now is suffering from both Alzheimer's, dementia, and schizophrenia and other things. So I know this firsthand currently, and I understand again what a challenge is and why this is interesting to me is because right now I'm stepped away from work in an effort to compensate right for this downtime that she has when she's not at this care facility, um, that she goes to for a good portion of her days, and she goes 3 times a week. I think we might be able to get her in a 5 days a week, but that's not here or there. Maybe Gene Hackman was already at a stage in Alzheimer's where he wasn't able to participate in sort of any sort of community care. I also wonder what kinds of medication he might have been on, and I assume he might have been at the stage of Alzheimer's where medication was a moot point, where there was no efficacy, there was nothing effective, and there were no genuine results of taking that medication that could have helped Gene Hackman. And again, that's an assumption on my part, but I still think that the not having a secondary care provider, not just to be depend on his wife Betsy Arakawa, because yes, this Hunter virus thing is rare that she had. So let me put that down. I'll find it if anybody comes in the chat. Does that, when I move it, does that affect it? No. All right, don't worry about that. So the hantavirus, the main transmission routes, and so we're talking about the death of Miss Arakagara. Um, the main transmission routes are inhalation. So it's breathing in virus particles from dried rodent waste that has been stirred up into the air, most common. Direct contact, touching rodent urine droppings or nesting materials and touching in your face. Bites, being infected by an infected rodent, rare but possible. Food contamination, eating food and water that has been tainted by rodent waste. So it's more like, okay, so I should have asked us, how does a rodent acquire or get infected with a hantavirus? No, so it says, oh, this is interesting. So I was incorrect. See how easy it is? Like you could assume or hear something that you've kept in your head, and then you could be incorrect. And this is information, of course, that again, media, they get in the weeds where they want to. They're not going to get in the nitty gritty. But rodents acquire hantavirus through exposure to the virus from other infected rodents. Typically, this happens the following ways. How rodents get infected: mother to baby transmission. Infected rodent mothers can pass the virus to their offspring. Bodily fluids and waste. Rodents get exposed by coming into contact with the saliva, urine, or droppings of infected rodents. So this still, ChatGPT doesn't really say, and then the bites, nesting together, and do rodents get sick? Rodents don't show any symptoms of hantavirus. They can carry the virus for long life, or for life, and continue to shed through their urine, saliva, and feces without being harmed. Different species of rodents carry different strains of hantavirus, with deer deer mice, cotton rats, and rice rats. So I wasn't incorrect. It's the deer mice, and that's where I thought the hantavirus was originally generated, was for mice that feed off the fecal matter and that are around deer. And I that's again, I'm not a doctor. I'm not a veterinary person. I'm not a hunter. I'm not a anything of that at all. But here's the other question. So how common is hantavirus? Because we know Alzheimer's is very common. A good portion of your our parents and people, even ourselves, we're going to die of probably three methods of death. Most of us, if you're fortunate to die of natural causes, number one will be cardiovascular disease, which Gene Hackman had as well. So he had like multiple symptoms and multiple ailments that contributed to this high risk factor of dying, right? If you had already heart issues toppled with the Alzheimer's, I mean, it's just I'm fortunate that I don't have that with my mom. It's really just mental, but not any of you go in there. We're talking about Gene Hackman, but going back to how common it is, since in the United States, since hantavirus was first identified in 1993, so it's relatively a new virus that they discovered. There have been around 850 confirmed cases. The infection rate is low, with only a few dozen cases reported each year. Worldwide, hantavirus virus is more common in some areas, especially parts of South America, Asia, and Europe, where different strains exist. Risk factors are rural areas with high rodent populations, cabins, barns, or old buildings that have been closed up for long periods. Cleaning up rodent infested spaces with proper protection, or improper protection, I should say. Working in construction, farming, or pest control. How dangerous is it? While rare, hantavirus can be deadly. In the U.S., hantavirus pulmonary syndrome has a fatality rate of 30 to 40%. So yeah, if you don't get care for it, you're going to die. Because of no cure, early detection and hospital treatment are crucial. Wow, that's just insane. So there really isn't a cure. And even if she knew that she was infected, she could have thought it was a common cold. We don't know all these things, but it's rare. Like it's a rare disease, right? They say it's rare. It has a mortality rate, but 850 cases since 1993. That's not a lot. That's very, very rare, which where this was located, and I guess it was in somewhat of a rural area. And one thing here where you have to give doctors credit, and where it has to lead to um, some proper diagnosis, where it might be a proper diagnosis of what occurred, is that it's so specific. It's not like something something common, right. She didn't die of some. There's still nobody in the chat. That's okay. She didn't die of some common disease that we're going to be able to confirm here, that um, right, that we aren't able to confirm, or like, no, what was I saying? Let me have some coffee here. Let me have some coffee. But if they diagnosed it and found hantavirus in her system, then I trust what the coroners and doctors have discovered, right? It seems so rare, so minimal, and so it does make sense. But I don't want to get into the time frame, but they both could have been sick caring for sick. And again, it goes to, you're wealthy, you have families, like you have friends, right? You have people that even taking turns, if they helped out a little bit, even to come in to say hello and have coffee with his wife, or to give her a moment, to maybe go for a walk, or to clean the dog, because they had a dog, I guess, would probably also contracted the hantavirus. They didn't mention in this article here. So going back to the article, whoa, where'd you go? Okay, here we go. Santa Fe, they're in Santa Fe, New Mexico, March 7th. Oscar winning actor Gene Hackman was in an advanced state of Alzheimer's and died of heart disease and other factors likely after the death of his wife, Betsy Arakawa, I'm sorry, Arakawa, died of a rare virus spread by mice, according to the autopsy results released on Friday in New Mexico. And we just seen how rare it is. The 95-year-old Oscar-winning actor, 64-year-old Arakawa, very young wife, right? Over 30 years. Like, it must be nice to be wealthy and talented and good looking and right, famous. But look at but he was 95 years old. Like right, my mom's close to 80. Getting to 95, he had to have, and it depends when the Alzheimer's kicked in, but he had to have fairly severe Alzheimer by that point. He must have. But again, it goes to, and I keep harping on that. It's like, why didn't you get assistance? Why didn't you get care? And I get it, the privacy of people, how difficult and the challenge it is to be, to care for somebody that is 95 years old. And it's not an issue of money there. It's just a challenge. Like even the best of care providers are going to have a challenge caring for someone like that. Let me go and get more coffee because I need to feel better. And we'll read the rest of this. So, what I glean, what personally get from this is that we're doing the right things, that my brothers and I, my family, sort of rallying around trying to care for my mother and to extend and make the remaining time and her quality of life better is a good decision no matter how challenging it is, because it does get challenging. It does get difficult because you feel helpless. And but we're not wealthy, right? We share in the responsibility, right? And we have acquired some resources, but I still go back to wait, this couple is wealthy, they have resources. They failed to utilize those resources, and there had to be a reason for that. And that's the other thing that the depression on the care providers, right? The pressure and depression that hits them, and the challenges and the frustration and the disappointments and the life negotiation and life reflection that the care providers go through. And some of them could enter in a state of depression themselves or state of denial. Or another state where maybe she was where, hey, we're in our home, where he's at his twilight. I don't need or I don't want to prolong the pain that he's suffering. And again, that's just my conjecture. That's something that's off the cuff, right? Off the cuff. I have to show the watches. We're not doing that. We're being a little professional today. We're being a little professional when we're mentioning this news. So because it is somber, and again, why I'm talking about it is because it does relate to me, and it does relate. Like if you're over 50 and you still have your parents, the chances of having to care for a parent or care for your loved one who has some form of terminal disease or near terminal, like is very high. Like it's going to be in the 80 percentile, right? Like 80% of us people that are like over 50 years old, or if you have a parent, are going to do what the parent did. And if you're blessed if you're not in that pool. So I see parents and I see some older people that are, my mom was doing all the right things too, being vegan. Again, I'm digressing, going off on a tangent. And I'm certain that Gene Hackman and Miss Arakawa were also on a positive path, right? Having the resources that they did have. I am certain that they were lived a great quality of life, I would hope, right? And I think that here at this stage, there was another playing factor besides the hantavirus, because it didn't say. Let's see if it does say it. Let's continue reading here, right? So died in a Santa Fe home, Hackman's heart disease, and the hantavirus pulmonary syndrome that caused Arakawa's death were announced at a press conference in Santa Fe. Hackman's wife died a week before he did, results showed. A reporter asked Sheriff Adan Mendoza if Hackman's advanced Alzheimer's had hindered him from perceiving her death. And he said, I would assume that is the case. And I know, here's something firsthand, I would know this is the case. Like there is a disconnect of reality, not just memory. I think a lot of people just think of Alzheimer's as being memory. And I think that what people don't realize that Alzheimer's creates a big and is coupled with dementia and schizophrenia as well as paranoia, right? Like they, or at least my mother has those things, and they all sort of come and combine, and they go in and out. Like that's the thing that which I don't understand about Hackman is that I'm hoping, for example, that my mother's some of her emotional states and as well as her cognitive abilities are on a curve, right? She's up, she's feeling really good, she's good, and then boom, there's a downturn where she's starting to see more things. She's hearing the voices, she gets angry, she's easily agitated, very confused, scouring through things, doesn't understand where she has things, doesn't realize what sort of, not just where she is, what time, like time period. Like she thinks she's still with her parents, right? Like back on the farm at the beginning of her life, and then she jumps like in time. It's like real time travel. Like none of this multi-universe Avengers stuff. It really is where there are in multiple locations, just like that. So I could see that with people like having the multiple. It's like some dealing with somebody with not just the multiple personality, but all kinds of psychosis, like and all kinds of issues. It is very much a challenge. So if he was in an assault advanced state, I could see where he had no clue, right? He was of what was going on. So he wasn't aware that she was deceased, right? Is what the medical examiner reports. So I don't know how he would know that, but that's okay. Arakawa is believed to have died around February 11th, authorities said on Friday, citing the date of her last email. Jarrell determined that Hackman died on February the 18th, so 17 days, and he was on a pacemaker. So based on his pacemaker activity, right? So another thing, like, okay, if his pacemaker is having issues, why isn't he on an alert system? We have my mom on an alert system. It isn't monitored electronically, which we could have gotten. You can purchase. These people can purchase that. I think that there was a complacent something with the partners where Hackman there may have been in this not assisted, it's an assisted living and then an assisted passing situation is my opinion, what it could be. Like where there's a complicit and task agreement between the two where, you know, babe, if I'm in this state, I don't want this, right? And so and in fact, we're getting to that point. We're going to be in that stage soon. So those are tough things that any family has to deal with, right? Power of attorney, a few other little legal things with the medical care that are very, very important. And she must have had those, and I'm certain she did. So, hantavirus is a rare disease. We've mentioned this, with most cases concentrated in the western states of New Mexico, Arizona, Colorado, and Utah. In northern New Mexico, the virus is predominantly spread by droppings and urine of deer mice, right? Deer mice. That's what I said. That's what I thought. Like, I thought that the mice acquired it from the deer. But it is what it is. Which came first, the chicken and the egg? It doesn't matter in terms of prevention is like, yeah, stay away. And it's hard probably to stay away from the fecal matter of the mice because it's small, they're everywhere. So if you go on a hike or you walk in with your dog, you could actually easily probably contract this. Not easily because it's still rare, but that's the importance of hand washing, the importance of, yeah, when you go on those walks, to washing your food, and then where they were at, you know, proper maintenance and care, right, of rodents. So the virus is often transmitted through the air when people sweep out their sheds or clean closets where mice have been living. So yeah, they could have been their second home. They cleaned it out. It begins with flu-like symptoms that can lead to heart and lung failure, with around 30% to 50% cases resulting in death. So yes, that's high incidence of death. I don't care what anybody says, right? Like, it isn't a lot. That's a lot. It's a lot. It's fairly fatal. New Mexico has experienced between 1 and 7 cases annually in recent years, according to health data. So That's not a lot considering the large population. It's still rather rare. State health inspectors found no particular sign of rodents inside the Hackman's home, but did detect rodent activity in structures outside the house, said state veterinarian Aaron Phillips, who told reporters. Hackman and Arakawa, a pianist, called Santa Fe home since the 1980s and were active in the city's art community, culinary scene. In recent years, the couple were seen less often in town as his health deteriorated. So yes, he had progressed health. They lived a very private life before their death, Mendoza said, and that's it. That's it right there. It was so private that their own privacy contributed to this, but they were probably at a stage where at least in terms of where Mr. Hackman probably didn't want outside people. And I could see that because when my dad, for example, passed of cancer, he did not like uh, his family visiting when he was at a certain stage. He did, but didn't understand us anyways. But I think when I came in, for example, I don't think that he was happy. Um, was, but then he wasn't, right? Like, and I have memories of it where he was sort of shocked, happy, and sad all at the same time. But I don't think he was particularly felt good about being in the state that he was, and then the family and myself actually seeing him in that state. So, and more personal information don't need to give, but whatever. Again, if you are at my age, if you cannot deal with these things, there are resources there. I've seen therapeutic groups that are offered through like community centers, through senior centers. I saw that there are care providers groups online, their phone numbers that you can call. I have not participated in any of those, even though, like I said, it is tough. It is a challenge, but there is help out there. If you cannot go through it yourself, you don't have a family to support you and to talk about some of these things. There are people out there, and so reach out to those people. I wish I had that information and those numbers below in the comment in the section here. I might provide those. I might try to find those and put those in at a later time, because if people need those resources, they are out there. Despite what Trump is doing, there's still help out for a lot of people out there. There are people that are willing, and services that are provided both by the government, privately, through charities, etc., that can help you and your family. So um, here it said, boom, 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 a caretaker at their gated community. So they're in a gated community, and they have a caretaker. Discovered the couple dead. Why was the caretaker there 7 days later? Okay, I don't know. I'm not going to fire the person. I am going to investigate them, or at least if they're their boss and they're like, hey, what happened here? We live in a gated community. It's not a good marketing look that Mr. Hackman, one of the most famous actor here in America, died in our residence when we are a gated community with care providers. Let me know what happened here. So Arakawa and a dog were found in a bathroom. They were found. But that's interesting. Maybe the dog came to care for her and also was sick and died next to her. But it shows the loyalty of your pets and stuff like that. Both Hackman and Arakawa appeared to have suddenly fallen to the floor, and neither showed signs of blood force trauma. Arakawa had picked up one of her dogs in a crate February 9th from Santa Fe veterinarian. So I'm still confused here, like, of her symptoms. Maybe she just thought it was a flu because they said it was a flu-like symptom. So it is what it is, which may explain. Okay, so Arakawa picked up one of the dogs in a crate from February 9th from Santa Fe veterinarian, which may explain why the animal was found dead in the crate in the couple's home February 26th, Mendoza said. Phillips said the dog may have died of starvation. Wow. Poor animal. Hackman, a former Marine known for his raspy voice, a Marine, man, tough man, that's why he got to 95, appeared in more than 80 films as well as television and the stage during a lengthy career that started in the 1960s. He first earned an Oscar nomination for his breakthrough role as the brother of bank robbers Clyde Brown in 1967's Bonnie and Clyde. He was great in that. He won, and this is a great movie, and like this is what he's known for, right? Besides Uncommon Valor, which is a fantastic underground war movie as well. He won an Oscar for Best Actor in 1972 for his portrayal of Detective Popeye Doyle in The French Connection. And in 1993, won an Oscar for the Best Supporting Actor in Unforgiven. He was a bad man in Unforgiven. That was it was a good story. Go and see that movie with Clint Eastwood. Great. Both movies are fantastic. right? That's why he won 2 Oscars. 2 Oscars is huge, big deal. But you win 2 Oscars. Getting 1 Oscar in your life, let alone two, is insane. And you have to be working with the. It's just so many factors that go into it. So Gene Hackman was a great actor. He was also in Mississippi Burning with William Dafoe. What were other Hackman? I could look here at some of Hackman's his internet database. Um, what other movies? Uncommon Valor was French Connection for sure, by far my favorite. Um, Unforgiven number two, but French Connection as far as movie making ahead of its time. Best car chase scenes, mystery, action, long shot formats, like these long camera shots that like people try to do them nowadays, and it's just like it's just so hard for them to do, right? Yeah, so French Connection. Let's see what other movies here. The Royal Tenenbaums, right? That's insane. Behind Enemy Lines. That was a good one. That was with. Or was he in the? Yeah, no, he was in the original with Danny Glover, I believe. Royal Tenant, Heist, Heartbreakers, The Replacements. Like that was a football movie with the good-looking guy from The Matrix. Under Suspicion, Enemy of the State. That was a good one with Shia LaBeouf, right, where he plays like the ex CIA dude that finds is trying to get which is ahead of its time. Enemy of the State, but Big Brother, dystopian. Everyone's being watched. That information can kill you. Really, really a good movie. Extreme Measures. Man, 80 films, right? Crimson Tide, that was another military movie where he was in Wyatt Earp. I didn't know he was in Wyatt Earp. He was in Geronimo. Oh, The Firm. Yeah, that was another good movie where he was in. He's been with some of the better young actors, right? In Class Action, that was with Chicagoan. Another. Oh, that was a law movie, right? So that was another law movie. Mississippi Burning, I mentioned. Bat 21. No, that Bat 21 was the one he was with um, uh, Danny Glover. So the other one he was with the other young actor, and it was very similar to Bat 21. Very similar movie. It's almost more of a sequel to an extent. So you can watch those movies if you really want to. No Way Out with he was the father, I believe. That's a great movie. um, uh, with fuck, what's this guy's name? He's in Yellowstone now, but whatever. Oh, he was in Superman 4. He was Lex Luthor in the first Superman. Hoosiers. That should have been an Academy Award winner, right? He was the coach in Hoosier. He should have won an Academy Award for that for Hoosier, right? So he was in Hoosier, Uncommon Valor, as I mentioned, Under Fire, Eureka, Reds. Reds was a good movie. On Superman 2, Superman, he was in both. He was great. He was great as Lex Luthor. He was fantastic. They actually made French Connection too. Oh my God, why'd they do that? Oh, he was in Young Frankenstein. That is crazy. I didn't know that. That's another great classic American movie, right? French Connection. Um, and before that, I don't think, even though there are good movies, they were as, other than Bonnie and Clyde, there weren't any before then that we would have known and that might have been famous. East Side, West Side. He was a policeman in that. That's interesting. Might have to check that out. The Defenders. That's an interesting. He was always like was a cop. Man, so many movies. He was a producer in one movie, Under Suspicion, and he did stunts for the French Connection. So he was actually driving in that movie. No way. No way. Yeah, I think they probably did have him driving in that movie, which is great, which is fantastic. If you're doing your driving, like, oh man, that movie, like I said, go check it out. So, good actor, like really good actor. So going back to this article here, let me get back to the article. My voice is getting tired from doing this, which is okay, right? We're gonna get back to that. We're gonna get back to that. Where is my, oh, had to be in there. Where is my article? It's still here. No, it isn't that one. Technical difficulties. Where is? Where are you at? Where you at, George? Where you at? No, it's not that. It's not that. It's still here because I have it open on the screen. All right. Where are you? You're not there. There's two other topics that I maybe will be able to get to. I doubt it. What the hell? Let me see my history. Where's my Gene Hackman? Man, oh, God damn it. Where is it? It's got to be, the window's got to be here. Sorry, people. This is the part where everybody leaves. This is why you have producers in the news industry. All right, we don't want that. So we've discussed really. I don't want to drop it. Is it up there? No. It still has to be open because I have it open. And you see it. All right. So we've determined what we determined. We know that he's a great guy. We've talked what we've wanted to about this mysterious death. I think we have gotten to what we wanted to talk with Gene Hackman, and it's a sad thing, right? It's it's something that, regardless of it being preventable, I don't think there's anybody at fault here. I guess in summation for my thing is that this is something that was just natural causes, and thankfully it was. Thankfully there wasn't anything nefarious, that there wasn't uh, foul play, right, involved here. Thankfully we got there, right? I think that is, out of everything, I think that, yeah, it's open someplace. Where are you, window? Says that it's open, but going back, let me get myself back in the center here, like it matters. It's it was natural. There wasn't anything that was violent. They both seemed to die a very quiet death. Again, going back, there's a lot of things that we could learn here. Uh, Getting care for, and I bet they did, getting medication for a family member is key. Long-term care. They were in a gated community, so they did have other care there, secondary, tertiary, possibly care. Having a plan for your family is important, right? And in this instance, I don't think she failed him. Um, but it was one of those areas where I think her death was more, not, I shouldn't say more tragic, but there was still more, being a younger woman, that nobody was there for her, right? Because Gene Hackman, she was there for him, but she didn't have somebody there for herself. And she didn't think about that. She didn't think, well, what if I'm injured, or what if I'm succumb to something that prevents me from taking care of my loved one. She didn't have that backup, and I think that's where maybe the community failed her. Right? If they have this gated community and the person, that they have a caretaker there and nobody shows up for 7 days to do a wellness check on them, in a senior area, I don't know what their protocols are, but if I were the manager, managing director, or person in charge of that area, I would be examining my protocols and changing them. I'd assure my customers, the people, my community, that, hey, in light of what's happening, we're gonna do every 3 days. We're gonna provide, call, and if you don't answer, we're gonna come by your place and do a door knock just to say hello. A little wellness check every 3 days, every 72 hours. We're gonna do a wellness check. Not 7 days. 7 days for wellness check is not. I think that's a failure there. And to Miss Arakawa, I think they failed her. I think that it isn't the fault of the veterinary. It is not the fault of the community, but and again, she might have not known. She might have just thought, hey, it's just the common flu. I'm a little sick. So she didn't go and seek help. And that's the other thing that we don't do. All of us do it. I'm a big person of that. I'm sick. I don't have health. It's different. I don't have health care. But even when I did, I was like, I'm not going to the doctor. This is going to pass. All they're going to do is give me antibiotics. I don't want to take antibiotics. Like, and so you will sit there sick, even though you have health care, even though you have a doctor, and you could get a doctor's note to miss work, right? So if they tried to fire you, could, hey, look at, I was really sick. I wasn't hungover. I wasn't on drugs. I wasn't on a vacation or anything like that. I was actually sick. Here's the doctor's information that provided. Did you want me to coming into the office with the hantavirus? Yeah, I just happen to have the hantavirus or coronavirus, and I had that issue. That's another thing, like with the coronavirus that we're talking, or that people will know. But um, let me get to no, that's something different. No, that's different. Let me just hide that. No, not Mac. Let me hide. Oh, YouTube is already hidden. Oh, bu- 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 bu. Okay, so yeah, let me show this. We'll get it set up here. So another story that I feel is worth discussing, let me get that here and then myself, is this capital punishment, like self-willed capital punishment, right? Capital punishment through shooting. Like the guy elected to have himself, rather than lethal injection by the state, he'd rather that the state, he face a firing squad. And I find this, it's I find this interesting from a few standpoints, right? From a moral standpoint, from a political standpoint, um, a philosophical and moral standpoint. Um, it brings up, like, it's hard for me to be on a high chair and a high horse here. Like, what is more cruel? Like, I think the point capital punishment period is cruel, whether it's lethal injection or whether it's firing squad. I think that both are a means for the state to demonstrate, and uh, the state is executing, literally executing you. They're executing their power, their dominance, control over all these spheres of the moral, of the legal, of the not just the ethical, but of the spiritual. Right, the state, in the hierarchy, places themselves in the hands of God, and like in the highest hands possible. It's like, I just don't agree with it. Right, I get it, an eye for an eye, and this person here, this man, brutally killed um, two people, right? I guess the parents of his girlfriend or of his wife, like baseball, like he did not like him. Like, it's short to say that he was angry. He was not a good man, right? So, but still, that we still not only here. Let's play the clip. Let's play the clip, and we'll talk over the clip. Hopefully, they don't flag me
There's
here.
also breaking news coming in from South Carolina tonight in a death penalty case making national headlines. For the first time in
Firing squad.
15 years, a death row inmate has now been
So we've done it
executed moments
recently.
ago by firing squad instead of the electric chair or lethal injection. Here's Steve Osunsami.
Prison officials in South Carolina tonight are making history on death row, using 3 executioners with rifles, firing.
I mean, look at that image. Look at this image. And I get it, the optics of, and that's why they do the lethal injection, because even though it's the same thing, and it's still the same act, and I still think it has the same morality, the same moral implications, the same political implications. Not just the optics of this firing squad shooting a man, and I don't even know if it took this place. Like if he was sitting down, I don't know the particulars. And this is where media is doing us a problem. Like they're creating right here, they're creating a story that may not be legit, that may not be real. It's not fair. Let me go get some coffee. Have some coffee, you'll feel better. Ooh. Oh, wait. Yeah, this is also like in the media where they have interruptions, and I had a little product review for you guys. So stick around to the end, and we'll discuss some clothing stuff. But yeah, so you know, again, it's all bad. Like I don't agree with capital punishment. I don't think that I view capital punishment being an infringement or infringement both on our moral rights as well as our not just our because capital punishment's written in the Constitution, but into our moral rights as well as I think it decays the countries and the people's moral base, right? Like that's why like I recently like people are watching Yellow Jackets on Netflix, and it goes back to the why do they have us read Lord of the Flies when we're in grammar school? And there's a very important lesson to be had there, right? Most of the books that we used to read that they aren't letting us read anymore always have a very important lesson. There's a reason why you read Catch 22 in school. There's a reason why you're reading The Catcher in the Rye in school. There is a reason why you're reading Lord of the Flies and why you're reading all these other books, The Red Badge of Courage or Oliver Twist or Moby Dick. There is a reason, right? If you're reading Mark Twain, right? Connecticut Yankee, there is a reason you're reading these books in grammar school and early high school because they are life lessons to be had here. And even in Lord of the Flies, it's very basic. We learn that our aptitude for violence and for execution is wrong. That it doesn't solve the problems at all, and it creates more social anxiety, more social pressure, and it fosters more violence. And I think that's what's happening here. Like, just look at the image; it's very violent image, and that's not to say that hey, somebody with a needle, like if you put a doctor there with a needle about to inject the man in the seat tied up, it's just as violent. I mean, it's still violent, right? It's still a violent act, but that we would still allow this form of execution where I'm not going to say where the injection is more humane, but there is an optics uh, factor here where having three men with fucking rifles that are going to literally explode holes into this man's body in various locations with a lot of blood and tissue flying everywhere. And then everyone, those three men, as well as the people watching this, right? So there's the trauma that the perpetrators or the people that are holding the weapons will encounter, as well as the people, right? So now you're involving more people than one person, and then you're involving the family, friends, media, people that are witnessing a murder, willingly witnessing a murder. So I don't agree with this type of state punishment and this type of capital by firing squad. I think it is beyond cruel. I think it further victimizes the victim's family, in my opinion. I don't know if somebody I don't know what pleasure I would gain from seeing And that's different, right? I can't really speak to that, but I do actually think that they are victimized. I don't think that this resolves or would resolve the hatred or the problems that and the pain and suffering that the family might incur losing their loved ones. But again, this was a very cruel act by this man. So I don't like the optics. It is what it is here, but
15 feet away at the same time
15
to
feet.
shoot this double murderer in the heart. 67-year-old Brad Sigmon chose to die this way over the electric chair and lethal injection.
Had two
after
options.
A number of executions using injections have gone wrong. States have had trouble getting the right chemicals, and prison officials in the death chamber have struggled using needles and finding veins.
Right. So this is a fault of the state, right? Like, are these people certified? Where are they getting the medications? Why aren't the medications tested ahead of time? This is not the that we had, just because of this, we allow still firing squad because we are inept in our ability to do this, right? And to get the proper chemicals. I mean, fucking give them some fentanyl. That shit's fucking, I was talking to my girlfriend yesterday, like, the amount of fentanyl required to kill somebody. I was like, I didn't know it was that little. Like, no wonder people are dropping like flies off this stuff. It's not like you could do a bump of fentanyl. Like you back in the day, you could do a bump of coke or a bump of meth, and you're gonna be, woo, hey, you're gonna feel it. It could do some things to your heart, but you can die literally from a very small amount of fentanyl. Very small. Die. For the, you can't cut it up in a line. People should, if you've seen videos or you have a drug experience yourself, you cannot do a line of this fentanyl. You can't just do a line and sniff that line like you would in one of these movies or whatever. You're going to die. Like, you're dead, right? So there are other options here, and I think it's a failure of the state. What it's saying to me, if I were the governor of that state or someone in the federal DOD or whatever, I'd be like, hey, you guys, there's a fault here. There's a procedural, a maintenance issue here where you guys are not qualified to do this, even though it is one of your functions, and it's a problem. We need to investigate this. We need to remedy it, and find a solution where people have that option, or. And then the other thing that people need to do in the community is lobby to get this out of there. Firing squad execution is a further means for the state to exert its hierarchy, exert its power, and then the message that they're killing you anyways. That's the other thing of just philosophically anyways, whether it's injection or electric chair, that the state not only has the power to encapsulate and imprison you, right, to keep you in a cell for life, to medicate you, but that they can eradicate you, right? That they can control not only your body, your soul, and your mind, but that they will kill you, right? They will do that and take that extreme measure, right? Which I think is extreme, but that they'd have the ability and power to do that. We need to remove that out of the state's hands. So
Attorney
big
says
problem.
a firing squad felt more humane.
Knowing that the bullets are going to break the
Look at
bones
that.
in his chest
Look
and
at that.
destroy his heart,
Look at this.
or risk and destroy his heart, or break the bones in his chest and
Look at that. That's humane. Are you you find this humane? The with the sandbags to the side in the chair, he's going to be strapped in the chair, and the guys are going to take aim into the heart. Humane. We are a decaying society, people.
destroy his heart, or risk a 20-minute long execution strapped to a gurney with your lungs filling with blood and fluid. Now, this is an impossible choice.
Across America, nearly 24 states have a death penalty, and most of them are still by lethal injection. But now 5 states allow firing squads. In Idaho last year,
Okay. Again, going back to the legal things of it, why is it that only 5 states allow the firing squad? It's got to be a reason for it, right? It's not only that we don't have the appetite, it's because it's cruel. Or I'm jumping to a conclusion there. And I need to investigate a little bit more, but offhand, that again, some people might view the injection to be more cruel and to be more of a violation of morality than the firing squad. Like that it's a different domination of the body when you're giving a lethal injection rather than being shot. Like there is some people I could see that, and where some people can view the lethal injection as more cruel, right? Not necessarily more or just, yes, inhumane. I could see that, right? I could see that philosophically, where the state is not only piercing you, but they're putting something inside you that will overwhelm your body and sicken you and provide you, give you pain, suffering to, uh, internally kill you, like to do bodily, like beyond bodily physical body harm. They're going to cause extended trauma to you. So I could see where this is coming now. Like I'm being open to it. I'm being open here.
In Idaho last year, they tried 8 times to kill this serial killer by lethal injection and failed. On Wednesday,
Wow.
lawmakers in response passed a bill to make a firing squad the state's primary death penalty. In South Carolina,
Right. See, that's where we need it. That's the problem. Like they're going the opposite of where the rest of the country is. Idaho's not a fun. I think Idaho is ranked as like the uh, like if you're African American or like has the fewest African Americans. It's not just a sundown town. It's like a sundown state. Like if you're Mexican, you're African American, you're black or Arab, you may not want to be hanging out in Idaho, which is a beautiful place, by the way. But obviously, we're taking a step backwards here.
the state's primary death penalty. In South Carolina tonight, Brad Sigmon's ex-girlfriend told USA Today to remember her parents, who he beat to death with a baseball bat, saying that I didn't get to see them grow old. Executions by lethal injection can sometimes take hours. By comparison, firing squad is just minutes. It's America's oldest method of state execution. Some would say more efficient. And late word from South Carolina tonight, this death sentence has been carried out.
Wow.
The first time a prisoner in America has been killed by firing squad in the last 15 years. David? Yes.
Yeah, so not good, right? Like, not good. We see here that that's where we're at in our culture, in our society. We're going to revert to this capital punishment. Giving the state the permission to kill us is one thing. To shoot us is by far another, right? Because that's the other tactical or practical thing is when they could do, okay, you could do a state execution. They could shoot us in the street. There's no more an injection. Okay, you're going to go to jail. You got to go through this process. We got to go through this, and you're going to get an injection. No, like we're going to shoot you in the street. And if there is martial law, that's going to happen anyways, right? Like we can have that in the state of martial law, but we're not in that state. And that the people, as well as our government, is getting at this point where we're reverting back to this because of its efficacy. You heard that it was more effective, that it might have, it's more rapid. So those were arguments for it. And the person elected to do it. He was able to elect to do this. So again, what was he feeling, right? Like, and again, it goes back to how cruel capital punishment is in its first, just in itself. I don't agree with it. I don't think it solves any or deters anybody from doing anything. If you hate the person that raped your daughter, for example, or that there is a ectophile or whatever in your neighborhood, and you decide to take action, the thought of being executed or facing capital punishment isn't going to deter you from doing those things. It's not going to deter you from robbing a bank, pulling the trigger, shooting somebody. It's not going to deter you from the drive-by. It's not going to deter you from all these people that do the things that they do, right? And you look at Kohlberger. I don't think he's facing this level. He could be facing the death penalty, but we see it's all lethal injection. So, this story, do not like this story because all it does is promote the continued use of capital punishment, the continued ability for the government and the state to exercise its power over and dominance over the people, over us, to the point where not only they could use and abuse you, not only can you be in prison, but you literally can be killed. And so I'm not the most happy with that. Not happy at all. Let's see if there's anybody in the chat. Nobody in the chat. We've been chatting here. Oh, it says that I started streaming 5 minutes ago. That doesn't make any sense. Down on my clock here, I've been going for over an hour. I do have one more little story as a tidbit. Let's get to it. Let's put it in here. Right? Let's put it in here. Where's my... Yeah, let me put her in here because this one's for Joey. Do I have to expand it? Do I have to expand it? Boom. Yeah, it's there. Maybe I need to put it here. Oh, yeah, it didn't. Yeah, so here's another sad one. Like, this is more for Joey. This is for you fitness geeks, people, right? Like, this young lady, 20 years old, died from, they say it was dehydration, but why was it dehydration? Because she was on friggin' steroids. She was 20 years old on steroids, right? I don't know what she was on. And, this image, as well as this report, we're going to listen to Greg Douche, or Greg Douche, Canadian. The irony of this guy, Greg, the nerve of this guy, Greg, who sells drugs, sells legal steroids, legal whatever, like sells chemicals to people. I think, is Greg a doctor? I don't know. These are not prescribed stuff that he'll send you. He'll send you stuff from Canada, I believe. The hypocrisy of this guy. The hypocrisy of the weightlifting industry, period, when it comes to steroid use and drug use is ridiculous. They all do it. They all know the health effects of it because they're all bright people. One thing about, not all, but very bright people are in the bodybuilding fitness community. Like, they're not stupid. They're all highly motivated. They all have excellent base in health and nutrition. Very passionate about what they do. And obviously this young woman here, right? Like, how old was she? What's her name again? How dare I talk about her? Young lady here. What did they say? She was 20, but looking older than me at 35. Must have been some serious sauce. Dying at 20 by a heart attack due to dehydration is crazy, but why? What's even more insane is that she wasn't even competing. There was absolutely no reason she should have been drinking enough if you're not competing. Yeah. Like, so she came to the event like all ripped. Knew this girl. We went to the same college and she helped me with some research. She's a smart woman. She was in Jesse James' video over female athletes using PEDs and talked about being on GH and test and not thinking it was a big deal. Very sad to see this happen. Such an avoidable tragedy. Right? Right? Like it says, the coach doing damage control like a motherfucker right now is on his Instagram. Yeah, this guy, Douche, is not a very, he's publicizing this, but he's not a very good guy. Yeah, it's serious when Greg doesn't plug anything. Yeah, he's again, not a good guy. This guy's into, again, the hypocrisy of Jodi. I forget what Jodi's last name. Jodi was one of the people JJW interviewed in his female steroid use. She said she had no side effects. I hope people wake up to how serious these things are, right? Someone said, Jesus Christ, she looked 40, and it's sad to see someone so young go through life so fast. She deserved at least to see 40, right? So people were shocked and dismayed, but I don't see why, right? Like, I don't see why.
She wouldn't be with us today. Is it worth it?
Agreed, yeah. So again, this is from Greg Douche.
Of another female, and
Jodi
this
Vance.
time an amateur, and she's only 20 years of age. And so her name is Jodi Vance. She's a bodybuilder. She's also a coach. And the suspected cause
20 years
of
old,
death,
coach.
it's severe dehydration resulting in her heart let's just call it giving out.
Vance, who was also a coach, was in Ohio attending the
Beautiful girl.
Arnold Sports Festival when she died.
And so listen, talking about being at the Arnold Classic, she wasn't competing. She was simply there as a spectator. And so imagine this. You're dehydrated, you're taking drugs, performance-enhancing drugs, not recreational drugs, and you're doing that to look good at the Arnold Classic to perhaps take selfies with your fans. Sport? Does anyone think that if...
Yeah, I mean, like, again, that's the bad part, the narcissism, the competition amongst these bodybuilders that leads them to their steroid use in the first place, the gains, as they all talk about, right? Like the actual effectiveness of getting them to where they need to be. Like the shit works, right? So it's a different kind of addiction. And they say that it's not addictive. It is. It's completely addictive. When you get addicted to the results that you see based off of these drugs and people are complimenting you, encouraging you, you're getting on, and they mention it, she was on in videos, she's getting attention, she's a coach. Why are you a coach? You're 20 years old, you're a coach. I get it. Maybe she went to college, she was working on some things. Yeah, maybe she's a good nutritional coach, she's got a nutritional background, right? Like, there's not saying that 20 years old you absolutely don't know anything. Look at football nowadays. Like, most of the coaches are like in their early 30s. The players are older than the coaches, because it's a matter of knowledge and knowledge of systems and different things, right? And it's the same for this sphere here. I don't know a ton of it. My brother's into it. It's becoming an epidemic. It's the silent killer amongst our youth. I don't want to do a big, but a lot of our youth is getting into it because the fitness people on YouTube, it's out of control. The fitness influencers, they're a dime a dozen. They're more like, I'm in the MMA and cigar field, and I thought that area was saturated. Fitness channels are like, man, they're probably, other than gamers, probably some of the most influencers, gamers and travelers, or food people. Fitness is coming in there. Fitness is definitely probably in the top 5 of content creators out there, and people that are trying to get on YouTube, trying to grab that bag and trying to be successful and famous through YouTube, through fitness here on YouTube, and they're all on steroids, all of them. And what we see here is a tragedy, right? It's a tragedy because we're talking about the drive that our youth have to be successful at something, and the use of, and we've done this before, by any means necessary to get those ends, to get to that, we're willing to cut ourselves up. We should probably get the breast reduction, augment our body, physically, through medical operations as well as through chemicals, and get to the stage. And it's dangerous.
For 100% natural, that she wouldn't be with us today. Is it worth it? I'm telling you that it's not.
Here's where this guy's a hypocrite. Do as I do, not as do as I say, not as I do. Good. What's good for me shouldn't be, is not good for thee. Like, is this guy? I don't want to really get that much into it, but the guy's a hypocrite. He's into the purveyment of these chemicals. He's in the industry. He's saying it's not, but yet he benefits from it. Complete hypocrite. Complete hypocrite. Let me see if I can, it is his piece, so we'll go through it.
When you're young, a teenager, in your 20s and so on, you can't see the future. You don't know what it's like. But I'm telling you, having lived that life, I was once a teenager. I was taking something. And remember, these changes, they stay with you for life. You might like bodybuilding right now, 18, 19, 20, perhaps till you're 25. But what about when you're 40? What if your voice has changed? What if you've done permanent damage to your heart,
He's right about
your
this
kidneys,
stuff.
and so on?
Jodi used 2 extremely hazardous substances to improve her physique without my knowledge, my approval, without family's knowledge, their approval.
It's like a drug use.
I've always told people this. Just because they don't admit that they're taking something.
Yeah, it's just like drug use, right? Like, these people, get addicted to it.
Including myself, tried to get her to pull off the gas pedal a bit. Anyone who knows Jodi knows how challenging that would be.
And so the pressure is real. Even upon discovering that she's taking these hazardous substances, saying, hey, could you stop? You should.
You know, it goes again. We're discussing like how difficult it is. All right, let's see this here.
Happened. I'll tell you what. She likely began to use either clenbuterol, T3, or something even far worse called DNP. And so when you start abusing these fat burners,
So you use the term abuse.
bad things can happen.
Vance's loved ones encouraged others hearing about her death to prioritize their health.
She's thinking,
Yeah. See, so he said it. Even though he's a hypocrite, this guy Duche has great information. He's hitting on all the topics, and I get it. He's being objective in his rant here. He's not being accusatory towards anywhere, but he's giving you the facts. Like, that there was abuse here, that she was abusing dangerous chemicals. And this guy knows it. This guy Duche knows his shit. I think he's a doctor. I'm not positive. He's a very bright man. So he's a good indice of what is wrong in the industry. We have these people like him that are consulting, because he says it even here. Like, he'll consult you in your use. You pay him, he'll tell you, okay, take that T3 stuff, take that. Or you'd say it's a danger, but you could take X amount of that, right? Like, the guy's a hypocrite. I don't want to keep on harping on the guy's a hypocrite, but at least he does tell you all this is abusive. All of it's a potential danger. He is warning you, but at the same time, he's still doing it, and he's still recommending it to other people. So, and our kids are in it. If you see your kid, like my girlfriend's son, for example, good athlete, being successful, lifting weights, not out there jacked and yoked, and I don't think it would help his athleticism, right? Like his baseball playing, I don't think it would help that much. I don't think it would help his bowling. I don't think it would help his basketball playing. I think that, in my opinion, most of these bodybuilders, it's a different type of athlete. It's a different type of performance that is not as it doesn't stress agility, is not as skillful as most other types of athletes, right? Like that's why the football players are doing steroids, but they're gaining the strength and they're gaining what they have to out of it. They still have to maintain speed. They have to maintain their agility. They have to maintain their hand-eye coordination. They have to maintain their foot movement. They have to maintain their abilities to stretch and their limberness and flexibility. And of course, they still also need the muscle, the speed, the everything else. So there are big benefits to steroids. We know from the MMA world, everybody's on steroids. They're all taking steroids. They're all on steroids, and we know this. And there are benefits to it, both from the recovery standpoint, muscle gaining standpoint, performance standpoint. So that's why they're called performance-enhancing drugs.
Ones encouraged others hearing about her death.
They're going to think, I want to hire that coach. And so they're going to go to the Arnold Classic, meet with friends, network, and so on. And when they see me shredded with a six-pack, they're going to think, I want to hire that coach. And so the more impressive the before and after transformation, the more people you can convince to hire as a coach.
It's the same with
She's
YouTube.
20 years old.
See, not just as a coach, you as an influencer, the more gains you get, the bigger and bigger you say, okay, look at what I'm doing, but it's really the steroids. That's what I hate about like Big Boy and these influencers, those big fitness influencers. They're using steroids, and they're saying, even like the Wes Watsons, they're using steroids to get that strength, to get the body that they have, and they say, oh, you could get this with hard work and all this other stuff. It's like, yeah, they're putting in work, but it's the chemicals, man. It's the chemicals. They lie to people, right? And that's the danger, and that's the other part of the farce, of the sham, of the grift. Is you could get where I'm at with hard work when it really isn't. Pay me to let me be your coach. I'll send you the nutritional plan, which you could get off fucking ChatGPT or any website. I'll send you the workout plan, and you could get as big as me, when really all of them, including this guy Duche, are using steroids.
was she coaching? What amount of knowledge could she have garnered throughout her teenage years in order to coach other people? And so, isn't it not possible she was using diuretics to look leaner, to stand at the expo and meet
Still
fans?
nobody in my chat.
Well, maybe.
Oh, there's Joey.
They don't say which specific drugs.
Joey,
they
look what
are,
we're
so
talking about.
Take your pick. Was it DNP? Was it diuretics? Was it clenbuterol? Was it T3? Does it matter? She's 20. She's at an expo.
Yeah. Okay.
Why should she feel the pressure to look leaner than last time?
Yeah. So he is again, he's at a good point here. Right? I like what he's saying, but he's a hypocrite. You know, a lot of these influencers and people and regular people like Joey here, they feel the drive to do it, right? Like, and it's why. You know, how many more subscriptions are you going to get in YouTube? How many more Instagram followers are you going to acquire? Right? There's this want to be famous. Like, nobody just wants their 5 minutes of fame. They used to say, there was a saying that everybody has their 5 minutes of fame. Now they want it constantly. They want that constant attention. And she wasn't even a competitor. Why exactly? Why is she showing up taking these diuretics at an event where she's not even competing? Right? There's no tangible outcome. There's no real goal that she has when she's doing this other than to promote herself, to look ripped, right? When she's not even competing, right? She's just, you know, self-promoting, and it's a big mistake for nothing. So she put this pressure on herself and did these acts that eventually resulted in her death.
To taking drugs to beat society's standards of beauty. And so this is really sad because
and I disagree.
You know how many
it isn't
other
society's
people...
standards of beauty. This is YouTube standard of beauty. Nobody looks at a bodybuilder and these guys like Greg Douche and these bodybuilders and be like, oh man, that guy's sexy or that woman's sexy. Some dudes are into that. But it's more of, what do they call it? It's more of a fixation. It's more of a, you know, like if you're into midgets, you're into this and that. You know, it's not really, you know, most of these fitness women, I look at them, and I dated a couple fitness models, and a woman that used to weightlift, and thank God, and she didn't like herself because she got chubby. She was not chubby, they would say thick. Like, she got her boobs back, and she got her booty back and her legs back. And she was really, like, her body was really nice. And she hated it. She thought herself a super fat, even though she wasn't. She was like good looking. She's like, oh, I'm fat. I'm like, baby, you're not fat at all. You know, like, you're a good looking woman, and that's why men are always looking at you. You went back to fitness, and she was like, oh, I had more men when I was in the, and I'm like, well, you had some weird guys, you know, that were into that. Like, it was a fetish. Yeah, men might have that fetish, but for the most part, most normal men do not like the fitness women. Maybe even the exercise women, but the bodybuilding women, that's a select group, very small group of men that are going to be seeing that. So it's not societal. So Douche is wrong here.
Doing this? You think she's the only one? Half the people doing
all of
the
them.
exact same thing.
All of them.
How many
Don't
people
lie,
think
Douche.
bodybuilders
All of
are
them.
all natural? Even
All
the
of them
majority of
are
the
fake.
natural bodybuilders aren't natural. And so when I plead to the IFBB, add more weight classes, maybe try drug testing. Why do you think that is? Have you not seen classic physique? Oh, it's more for the mainstream. You know, an attainable physique. How many of you can attain
Wow, look at that.
Sigmon's physique?
Yeah.
Or Mike Sommerfeld? Oh,
Like, so, like, I think this isn't really the real discussion, right? Because that might have been her goal, but most common people goals that still engage in this don't want to get this big, but it's still a danger. Let me go get some more coffee. We're going to finish this. Joe, are you still in here? Joey left because this is relevant to like something we follow. Joey and I follow a kid's career who's in this sphere, and like you see now how like dangerous these guys are playing with fire. They're playing with drugs that can kill them, right? So, and it's like, what's the end goal? And these guys don't make a great living.
No one. Oh, what about men's physique? The board shorts division, you know, those guys are small. They're all bigger than Coach Greg. And so how are we not adding new categories? At least in women, they added the fit model category, of which many people... 42 shows natural. I won everything. Did they give me a pro card? No.
He was not natural.
What do you think I did? I used and
It's all a
abused
lie.
performance-enhancing drugs
see,
so
you
that
did.
I could be like everyone else. I could earn the coveted IBB Pro card. Remember, when I was competing, there was no classic physique, men's physique. There was open men's
Look at how he
bodybuilding.
looks.
And so I ended up using steroids because I wanted to compete with the best of the best. If they would have had smaller categories, I would have stayed natural. I'd be Coach Greg in 2025, 100% natural. But they
He's
didn't
lying.
exist at that
He still
time.
would've cheated.
And so as Joey Swole says, we need to do better.
Yeah, Joey, you need to do better.
Are you ready for retirement? Our free
got that
retirement
advertising
plan
there,
shows
that's
you
okay.
where you stand now.
You need to do better.
The number one job desired for Gen Z. Career in media and
Yep,
entertainment.
media. Yep,
where
there
you're
we go.
In the spotlight.
There we go, guys. My point exactly. It's for the bag is now for the fame. It's no longer to be, I don't want to be in movies. I don't want to be a model. They want to be an influencer, right? They want to be on YouTube. They want to be famous on YouTube. They want people to recognize them in the street. Not for, oh, I saw you in that movie. You were really so good in that. Or like, man, your show was so fantastic. You were so good at that concert, man. It made me feel so good. No, it is, I follow you. Like, there is nothing more right now that makes these people so happy, and so many people are becoming obsessed with this. So, you know, that level of social media than what is happening right now. So this is what drove her, not the desire to be physically on top of her game, but she wanted to be the biggest influencer, the women's fitness person, you know, on YouTube and on Instagram that was famous, and she was willing to do anything in order to make that happen.
On Instagram and all the other social media places.
And so the majority of people, that's their dream job.
Yep.
And you know how you get noticed? By standing out. And how
Yep.
did it lie? Guys like Mike O'Hearn, that was the norm. But in 2025, people show
See, look at
you,
the kids.
all right, I'm taking this, I'm
Yep.
taking that.
Yep, they show
should
you. Look
take
at
it
these
too.
kids.
Use my discount code. And so if you show a before photo and you
Yeah.
have no muscle, you're fat and so on, you show an after photo where you lost 100 pounds, are you
Yeah.
really sad what's become of the fitness industry? The pressure to look this good. When
Yeah.
I was her age, I feel that kind of pressure. There's
Yeah.
a little bit. I was 20, but I didn't.
All right, so he's going his
remember
personal.
a veteran? Anything. Just because your friend got away with doing it doesn't mean that you will. I think
Yeah.
really sad what's become.
Right. So yeah. So, you know, to get this to this state cost her life. 20 years old. So, you know, again, it's something that, you know, there are risks to everything that we do, and we see people willing to take any risk to accomplish that. And here was an instance where not even competing, not going to be competing on these performance enhancing drugs that were for the moment, like she was at the show just to be in the fans. Like I would dress up and put on a nicer shirt or put on a suit for a special occasion. She's fucking injecting herself with these diuretics, these chemicals, in order to have herself look more of the role that she wanted to look. So again, this was a completely preventable, and it's a different kind of substance abuse. And I think that people that say, and he mentioned it, Duche mentioned it, that it isn't abuse, that it isn't an addiction, are completely wrong. They don't want to say that it is an addiction, but I think you become addicted not only to just the chemicals, right? But to the results and to the image. I think that some of these are almost, I wouldn't say more possessing, but they're just as all-encompassing as other drugs that people take, right? So Joey says 40 years has a lion, or 80 has as a sheep. Oh yeah, you want to say that, you know, yeah, 40 years old, man, you know, I would be 80 as a sheep. I'd rather get to 80 because look at that old man, Joey, and you've seen the old man. The old man gets to sleep be at the beach with his pina colada. He gets to ride on the boat at 70 years old, and he's still fishing for marlins where the 40-year-old's dead in the grave, right? Like again, what is the goal for these kids? And we're talking Joey, like even yourself, for example, if you started the steroids at this point, what is you're in your early 30s or whatever, late 20s. What's your end goal for taking the steroids? Like I could see if you were an athlete, like I'd see if like you're a pro football player or you're on track to be a pro basketball player, if there is a financial and there's a real gain of you enhancing your life by getting paid to be a pro athlete, I could see that. But just to have a physique, just to look like it is, maybe get a little bit more, have a little more sex from people, to be slightly more attractive. Because again, a lot of people don't find this physique attractive at all. But as a male, like to maybe accomplish that, I don't think it's worth it, Joey. I don't think that 40 years, it's 40 years as a drug addict. It's 40 years pounding your body, not as a lion, but you're a fake lion. You're a paper tiger, as I would call you. You're a paper tiger when you're doing it this way. Because you're not a lion, you're not able to fight anyways. Yeah, Joey's saying exactly. Once you see it, that's what's addicting about it. You see the results. You start taking this shit and you're like, damn, look at me. 1 month later, I'm jacked. Right? That's, of course, it's addicting for that reason. Right? That's what I was saying about earlier, is like, it's not just the physical aspect. Like, you see the results. And it's not like you're a crackhead and you're fucking, oh, I'm taking this meth and I ain't got any teeth. I'm not looking so good and I can't stop. But it's the opposite. I'm taking this fucking TRT and look at my fucking, I don't have tits anymore. I got a chest. Damn, that fucking looks good. Fuck, I'm taking a bigger dose next week. That's what's happening with these people. And they all think they're going to be influencers. As you mentioned, like, what's the end goal? Right? Like, what can be the end goal of these people that, like, she 20 years old, she still could have been a competitor and got into making money, et cetera, et cetera. And it's a small niche, this weightlifting thing. I've seen some women, they're probably doing it all the time and they're making no money. They're probably spending more money. They have a second job. Right now, I was mentioning that earlier, that like most of these people are very intelligent. They have good jobs. They are, educated. They have college degrees. They are employed. And most of them, like we saw that one guy, what was his name? Harani Coleman was a police officer for years. So he was making over 100K, had benefits, and he was able to train. Look at Stipe Miocic, who's a fireman, right? Like they have other jobs and are good people. But those people are at a level where they're getting a gain. They're getting something out of it that's going to make them money, that's going to make them famous, and they're all going to die early, right? Like, and that's what you're alluding to, that 40 years as a lion. It's like, okay, you're a paper tiger. You don't have the heart anymore. You're going to be a lion with the heart of a bird, with the heart of a muskrat, or of a house cat. You're going to be as big as a lion, and then your heart's going to be as big as a house cat because you're taking these drugs. And so, sad news here. Completely preventable. Is it going to change anything in that industry? Hell no. This isn't every year. Every month, there's somebody in the fitness industry that's known, that's famous, that is dying because of the performance-enhancing drugs. I'm not into that scene, and I already know that's the case. I don't have to go to ChatGPT and pull up stats that are going to put my Jay Cutler. What about that other guy who Joey, who pretends that he's the natural? He still claims he's natural, right? Even though because he still has hair and he's like my age. He's like 50 something years old. He's 6'6". Yes, he had great genetics, but come on, you're not natural, dude. You're not natural. And we're gonna see it, unfortunately, like by the time he's like 65, if he makes it there, we're gonna see that he wasn't natural. He's gonna have to say it. Mike Oren, yeah. What's in the cabinets? Yeah, what's in the and Mike is the problem, one of the problems, because he lies. He's lying to the people, and that just, and even Duche was talking about that. Other people realize that, like, okay, I'm going to lie, but I'm going to still take these steroids because I have to compete. And he said he was driven to take the steroids because people were lying. He had to compete against them still in natural competitions when he knew everybody there wasn't taking natural steroids, that they were all on steroids. They were not natty. So it's, Michael Hearn is, I think, just like Duche, not as a big a hypocrite as Duche. Yeah, he is a bigger hypocrite. Michael Hearn is a bigger hypocrite because he's still promoting this false, illusory. He's a grifter, right? He's grifting an image. He's not asking for money from people. He's not out there promoting merch and stuff like that, but he's promoting a lifestyle that he knows that he acquired via drugs. And he's sort of saying, hey, you could be successful through drugs and you could get the physique that I have and you could get on TV, become famous, make money, and you could still pretend you're natural and you don't have to tell anybody. And, as long as you're big and look healthy and you're beautiful, good looking, you could make that money and you could live that life and be the most, famous in this community, and dominate it. Right. And I think that, a lot of the young people do. And as Duche was just showing there, a lot of these young people, they show themselves juicing now. Right? They show them Michael Hearn. Yeah, let me pull up Michael Hearn as you say. Okay, let me look here. Michael Hearn. Body, don't hurt me. Oh yeah, because he does the. What is love? Oh, that's for you, Joey. Oh yeah, no drugs. He's completely natural. Fucking natural, man. Look at how natural he is. What a natural man. This does things to Joey. Look at that. Look at that.